Immigrants and Canadians alike are leaving Canada. They are seeing the writing on the wall and they are going. And Canada is now ranked one of the worst places to go in terms of personal finances if you look at an index which was actually put together by expats themselves, which we're also going to go through in this video. So it's a huge thing that people don't often discuss. You know, we constantly hear about the narrative of how many people are coming to Canada, but we never actually hear about how many of those people are quality people, how many of those people are the type of people that the economy needs, versus how many of those people are going to depend on government services and are actually going to pull more away from the economy in terms of depending on those services. So that's something we don't often discuss, but I want to read you this because it will just absolutely blow your mind. Young immigrants may leave Canada due to high cost of living. Yeah, I mean, we all know that. We can all guess that. A new poll suggests 30% of new young immigrants to Canada could leave the country in the next 2 years. Notice this was March 25th, 2022. Do you think that's got any better or significantly worse? And I can tell you right now, it's got significantly worse. So more and more Canadian immigrants are saying, see you later. And not only that, a load of Canadians are leaving as well. It's just unbelievable the amount of Canadians that are considering leaving. And you'll even see in the comments of this video all the people that have left. And, you know, it's kind of crazy, but according to a national survey conducted by Ledger for the Institute of Canadian Citizenship, 30% of new Canadians aged 18 to 34 and 23% of university-educated new Canadians said they are likely to move to another country in the next 2 years. And they are doing that because the cost of living is so high. Just think about it, guys. If the cost of living was much lower, would everybody be looking for the door right now? No. I mean, most economic migrants come to places like Canada in search for a better life, a better quality of life, a better standard of living. That's why I moved to Canada from England. And you know, what's becoming is essentially Canada is just falling and it's just slightly ahead of England. And we even see this further on in the index that was put together by expats themselves. And you know, we see these type of articles all the time, which is 3 Canadian cities rank among the top 10 most livable cities in the world. And it is just complete bullshit. These type of headlines are just complete bullshit. You never know what backhanded handshake deals have been done with the government to get this sort of propaganda out there. But the fact is, it's not real. I mean, you got Calgary. You could maybe argue that Calgary is one of the most livable cities in the world, but I think that's highly debatable. And then you've got Vancouver, and then you've got Toronto. So seeing Vancouver on there at number 5, I know this index is complete bullshit, which you and I know it absolutely is. It just pisses me off because it's just such horseshit, and people just eat it up on Twitter. All these cyber hornets are just like, oh my God, it's one of the best places to live in the world. It was one of the best places to live in the world. And, you know, we see it all the time. Vancouver ranks on one of the world's best cities. I mean, that's absolutely nuts to you and I who've been to Vancouver and have seen just how crazy it is. Downtown, all the crackheads, homeless people, mental people that are on the streets, all the random attacks that are happening in Vancouver. To say it is one of the best cities to live in the world is a joke. It really is a joke. But you and I can see through these things. Normal people cannot. It makes them have a sense of pride about them and think, oh yeah, things aren't that bad, you know. But they haven't traveled and seen that things are significantly better in countries like Mexico, for instance, which we're going to get into when we get into the Internation's Expat Insider report, which has just come out. Are immigrants falling out of love with Canada, and is it because we feel the same? And the answer to that is yes, because Canadians are starting to realize that all these immigration policies that have been put in place are complete crap. They are complete garbage, and they are not fixing any of the problems that we have in Canada. So you've got labor shortages. We've had those labor shortages for 3 years, and we still have them despite record levels of immigration. So obviously the immigration policies that are being implemented aren't that great. I mean, last year, for example, you had refugees outnumbering skilled immigrants like 5 to 1. That is just absolutely nuts and not what we need. And I'm not saying, just don't have any refugees or anything like that. I'm just trying to tell you that the way the immigration system is portrayed is this one that we're attracting all this talent, all this young talent is coming to Canada in droves. And that is far from the case. We are essentially attracting the world's most poor people, the world's most desperate people, and there is an unlimited amount of those people. So yeah, they can continually invite more. They will continue to fill those figures because guess what? There is an unlimited amount of people in poverty that you can import to a country. That is that is a way to just destroy a country, absolutely destroy a country. But I think the reason this is being done is quite obvious, and I'll have to speak cryptically to a certain extent, but it's being done to buy votes. It is being done for that reason, because we know by the demographics, look at the elections that we've had in the past, where the votes come from that go towards Justin Trudeau. And you'll know, it's pretty obvious to me that that's the way it works. And this whole immigration bubble that we're in is a bubble because a lot of those people will leave. And that's exactly what people are saying. People are saying that they don't want to live here anymore. And it's not just immigrants. It's also Canadians that are saying, no, I don't want to live here. And it's crazy because the Canadian citizenship certificates, the Canadian citizenship applications, I should say, are down. But you would think, why on earth would people not want to get citizenship? I mean, it's an extra passport. Why wouldn't you want to get citizenship? But it's just the fact that people just can't even stay in Canada for 2-3 years. And Statistics Canada has no way of actually tracking how many immigrants are leaving. They don't have a good way of doing it. So you don't even know the amount of people that are leaving. And that's not just immigrants, that's also Canadians, especially if they keep their house in Canada, which, let's face it, it's obvious they're going to do that because they think it's a gold mine that's going to continually go up forever because of the bubble that we're in right now. So all those people are counted as living in Canada when they don't actually live in Canada. So there's been a massive amount of people that have left, and there's a growing amount of people that want to leave as well. So that is not good when you have that kind of scenario happening within your country, and when you are scaring away all the people that you actually need to fill those skill gaps and skill shortages, because essentially those skill gaps and skill shortages will eventually cause inflation, and then vice versa. And it all works with each other to create this doom loop, which you essentially might get in Canada, because it is becoming a disaster with the immigration policies that we have seen. Seeing the same thing at CBC. And now if we go to the Expat Insider from Internations, you can basically see the top 10 for personal finance in the world, countries to move to, voted by expats who actually live in these places and not people just sat behind desks in places like the UK, Canada, United States. These people don't have a fucking clue, and they're the ones who write these things like Toronto and Vancouver are the best places to move into the world, and most of them have never even visited these places, and they're just doing bare minimum basic polls instead of actually speaking to people like this who've moved there. So it's really interesting. Vietnam, number 1. Mexico, number 2, no surprise. Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Colombia, Panama, India, China, all on that list. I wouldn't go to China, but those are the places that people rate the highest for personal finance. And then if we go to the actual winners and losers, so the ones that actually were top, best and worst places for expats, you can see here that Mexico once again has took the crown. Mexico is a place that I have been researching, going to and exploring extensively. I believe a massive opportunity is on offer in Mexico. I believe Mexico is a phenomenal country to go and live in. The people are fantastic. It ticks all the boxes. And it also ticks the boxes of a lot of the herd kind of fear Mexico. They think that they're going to arrive into a war zone. Little do they go downtown in their own city and realize that they're living in a fucking war zone. It's kind of crazy. But Mexico, phenomenal place. Lots of Canadians are already there, and lots of Canadians are going there. And it's because it's an affordable place to live. Mexico produces a heck of a lot of things. So that is really great for their economy. Their economy has become more and more diversified, and their economy is very large now, and they export a lot of their products. They're a big exporter, which is really good as well. It means that they'll continually have that economic strength as the demand for their products will get absorbed by other countries. The thing is, I believe there will be an opportunity in Mexico because the real estate bubbles that have formed in certain areas that expats have moved to, predominantly by short-term rentals, that will get affected by a recession. Could be a potential buying opportunity there because a recession will affect Mexico's exports and economy, and a lot of Mexicans have bought into this Airbnb thing. It's not just foreigners that have gone into it, so it's worth noting. So you got Mexico, #1 destination, then Spain, then Panama. That was one I was in recently, really great country. Malaysia, Taiwan, Thailand, Costa Rica, another one that I've been to recently. Philippines is one I keep hearing about. They just recently launched a digital nomad visa for 2 years. You know, I really want to go there and explore that country because some of our friends say it's the most beautiful place they've ever been in the world. The people are fantastic. And, you know, any Canadian knows that Filipino people are great. They are just really happy. That's the kind of vibe that you get from Filipino people. Don't get me wrong. It's not every single one, but Filipino people, really beautiful people. And that's what my friends said, funnily enough. So, and then you got Bahrain, Portugal. And it's kind of crazy because then you look at the bottom of the list, you got Japan, New Zealand, Malta, Italy, South Africa, Germany, South Korea, Turkey, Norway, Kuwait. And a lot of those are places that are in bubbles. And you know, what's really interesting, if we go back to that personal finance index, let's have a look at the worst places now. And you can see, you got the top trends there, the bottom trends. Oh, look, Canada, #48 out of 53 for cost of living. But you've got Australia, another massive real estate bubble. Estonia, Qatar, Denmark, Canada, Ireland, Singapore, United Kingdom, Norway, New Zealand. So, you know, you've got 4 of the big bubbles on there. Denmark also on there. You've also got Ireland. So you've got some big bubbles that are on there as well, where the cost of living is shot up. So, you know, those places are ranking the worst in terms of places to go to. So it's kind of hilarious that you hear these things come out that say Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary are the best places to live in the world. It's just complete and utter bullshit. I mean, I like to always take Calgary as an example because Calgary, you know, people constantly say, oh, it's more affordable. It's way better. And granted, when you compare it to 2 giant mega bubbles, it is affordable. But, you know, it's not really affordable, and it's having the same issues with the cost of living as Toronto and Vancouver, just to a lesser extent. So it seems completely pointless just moving your whole life to experience the same things at a lesser extent, but at a faster rate, because the cost of living is actually rising quicker here than in Toronto and Vancouver. So, you know, don't jump out of the frying pan and into the fire, as they say. So it's kind of crazy. I always like to use Calgary as an example. You know, Calgary, for instance, if you want a detached property in a nice neighborhood in Calgary, not in a fucking shithole, you're going to be paying over $600,000. Is that fucking cheap? It might be cheap in terms of Canada, but that is not fucking cheap at all. That is a lot of money. So you pay a high premium even to live in the so-called affordable places in Canada. But this is what this bubble has distorted things. It's distorted things so badly that the only thing people care about is the cost of living. They'll sacrifice their job. They'll sacrifice their, like, potentially becoming unemployed, losing their support network, also whilst heading into a recession. And this is something we see time and time again in Calgary. It's actually part of a cycle. So anyways, And the fertility rate is absolutely at a record low. It set that record low in 2020, according to Stats Canada. We know exactly why that's happening, don't we, guys? It's happening because of the cost of living. It's happening because of the crisis that we're facing in Canada. And if you think about that happened in 2020, what's it going to be like here in 2023? Obviously, it's going to be a lot worse. And that is just happening because the standard of living is declining. If you have a massively declining standard of living, your birth rate's going to go down. And Canada has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. And that is representative of what's happening here in Canada. So, you know, it's crazy that people ignore these kind of things, but it's really to do with this, as you guys know. It's to do with this absolute debt bubble. And to those that are unaware, to the poor people that come here, they see what they see in the movies and on TV, and they think that they're going to get that sort of lifestyle, and they don't realize either that that lifestyle is a debt slavery lifestyle. They don't realize that the type of people that have the fancy cars, that have the fancy houses, have a ton of debt, and they're stressed out of their mind on how they're going to pay it all back. And the likelihood is they're never going to pay it back. And most of them are going to end up losing those possessions at some point. So the thing is, like, Canada's economy and the wealth in Canada is completely fake. Most of it is just debt. If you minus out all the debt, those people aren't rich at all. In fact, they're very poor. So that's the thing. And these cycles of debt, they come and go. They happen everywhere. Japan, Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Italy in the Roman times, the United States, even in Canada during the 1990s. It's happened everywhere. Yet people say, no, this time is different. It's not going to happen because we're bringing in thousands and thousands of poor people to live in homes with 10 people. Yeah, I don't know. People are just kind of crazy when it comes down to it, that they think because of that, everything's going to just last and prices to the moon. But we see these sort of rationalizations in all bubbles, guys. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video here, if you've enjoyed this video, you might like this video here. You might also like that playlist here. Thank you so